You're listening to The Switch. I'm your host, Stephanie Shaw. Hey, welcome to The Switch. I'm Stephanie Shaw. I'm a multi-certified holistic nutrition coach who, after finding no success with the 18 doctors and 2 world-renowned healthcare facilities I visited, decided I needed to make a switch and take my health into my own hands. Now I'm obsessed with you getting hormonally balanced and emotionally aligned. This podcast is about education, empowerment, and simple no-cost strategies you can implement right now. I'm so excited to be here with you to talk about all things health, beauty, clean living, and mindset. Ready to take your mind and body to the next level? It's time to make the switch. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Switch. I am so excited. I'm always excited, aren't I, you guys? I'm so excited, but I'm really, truly excited to be here today with Ginny Victory. Ginny is a leadership reformer, CPA, and Stanford University instructor. Ginny aligns leaders to the core zone, and that is why I have her today. So much of my audience keeps telling me they need some type of alignment. So Ginny, you are here to fix us all. Can you do it, Ginny? Can you do it?
We can do it. Yes, we can.
I know you can. I have faith in you, Ginny. Let's step back a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to creating C.O.R.E.
Yeah, my story is you captured it with the leadership reformer and CPA, right? And Stanford University instructor. So I did what most of us do, and I did what my dad and mom wanted me to do, right? Go to school, get a good degree, get an accounting degree, right? And I had a job before I graduated, and I was on the partner track in public accounting, auditing financial statements, and I was burning out, right? And I didn't know why. I mean, I kind of knew why. It was very stressful. I was good at it, but because I forced it, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't natural. So I was like, I have to do something. I can't continue down this track, even though it's very successful, right? And so then I left and got into corporate, and I was in internal audit. And from internal audit, I could see the whole corporation. And I was like, where do I want to be?
Right.
And a position opened up in human resources. And so they let the bean counter in because this particular job had real estate and compensation and all kinds of things associated with it. So they let the bean counter in, right? And then I got in there, they're like, what? You belong here to begin with. What happened, right? So it was Herman Miller. And back in the day, when coaching was just starting, and it was only one of 2 companies in Michigan that had internal coaching departments. So I went through the program, right? And I discovered that I actually belonged in human resources to begin with. And then they asked me to be an adjunct coach in that department, in addition to my HR consulting, my business partner, HR business partner responsibilities. And so from there, I got trained by one of the best coach training schools in the world. And then when I was ready to leave corporate and go on my own, I started working with entrepreneurs. And then through that process of working with entrepreneurs, discovered that most of us focus way too much on our career or our entrepreneurial or business life, and not enough on our personal life. So the core zone intellectual property and method, the Victory method came to be because we need an integrated strategic planning process that starts with the core of who we are, and then goes out into our vision, right? What we want, our heart's desires, and then what's the integrated action plan to make that happen, instead of, all these yanking around in these, external, directions. And what I call the drama triangle, off the drama triangle and out of the status quo box into your core zone. And so, yes, I'll say fixed in quotes, but get you equalized, dial you in for sure.
Yeah, that's so exciting. And I've been following what you do for quite a while, but I want to break that down a little bit. C.O.R.E. is about leadership styles. And the idea that we as women often lead and show up working with more of like a masculine edge because we kind of think that that's what we have to do.
Yeah.
I have two questions related to that. One, how do you help women realize that this is how they are leading? Like, how do you tell them, you're leading more from a masculine edge? And then how do you help them learn who they truly are and to lead from truth?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I usually just let them talk. And it sounds so simple, but I let them talk. And since I've been doing this a long time, I can hear the lies that are built into what they're saying, right? And so I can hear things like hustle or grind, forcing things, using like coercion. No one would ever call it coercion, right? To your point, people don't know, but we're trying to influence by controlling the outcome, and we can't do that. I mean, men can't do that either, but that is a little bit more of an aggressive style, right? And really, frankly, men are not equalized into their core zone either, because that's not true masculinity either, right? Like sidebar, important note.
Right. You're right.
Important note. So in many ways, all of us are taught that power control dynamics are actual leadership, and they're not. Right. So the drama triangle has a bully corner, a rescuer or a people pleaser corner, and a victim corner. And another way to say that would be aggressive, passive aggressive, or passive. And so based on what people share with me, I can tell which corner they're operating from and where they might actually be in their core zone, right? Operating with full agency, with authenticity, and with personal authority, which also includes responsibility, right? So I can hear what's going on based on what they share with me in terms of those dynamics. And then we can work from there for what their game plan is to really shift the mindset, to take some risks. You need to have courage and take some risks, and then discover that your true power and influence comes from your authentic femininity in your core zone, the way you're uniquely wired, your genius, right. And also for the men folk, that's true as well. But since your audience is mostly women, mine as well, we'll roll with that, with the true feminine force that is within us.
Talk to us a little bit. So how long do you work with these women, and give us an example of how you're helping them step into that truth?
Okay, great. So I like to do an intensive immersion into core zone, right? And so that includes whole being intellect, which I discovered people needed because one of my clients was Cambridge, Harvard, MBA, entrepreneur, and struggling, and also struggling the most with her health, right? And so I discovered that she was making decisions based on these, matrices and these, pro cons and only analysis, and not taking into consideration her own intuition, other data that, spiritual higher power connections, other data that we have. Right. And so at the time I called it whole being intellect, because I didn't know about the 7 intelligences that now neuroscience has discovered and shows us that we operate from in a particular order. So we have access to so much data that is real and legitimate and needful for decisions, whether it's a business decision or a health decision, right? Yeah. So whole being intellect, Olympic torch Y, which is our driving motivation, our big flame, our needs. This is needs. Number 3, it's part of the core zone. Right. Nobody likes that module, but needs is important. Values, which is common. Strengths, common. Voice, mission, and purpose, all pulled together in I am stamp. And so I like to do a full immersion. Let's get everybody dialed in. Let's get that all excavated, and then let's implement from there. And so most women are in the rescuer, people pleaser part of the drama triangle, but yet forcing things kind of like in the bully zone, and then then in the victim zone, laying awake all night, like, did I say that right? What happened? I didn't get the outcome I wanted. You know what I mean? Like, how do I reword that? What happened? You know, just like that agony, right? So once I get someone dialed into who they are, then it's like, then it is a matter of, all right, how are you going to word that? What are you going to say? What is authentic for you to say? That is in terms of your core voice, the way it sounds, the tone, the energy that comes with it, and then the words, right? And then modeling around, well, what outcomes do you want? And how are you going to like micro pivot in the moment based on things you can't control, including the actual outcome, right? So part of this process is actually surrender, which is where you have your most power, because then you know you're influencing the way you are authentically designed to influence, and then you actually are heard and get better results, right? And when I start with voice in terms of my answer to you, Stephanie, because when we learn to use our voice authentically instead of the other examples I gave, then we start to get our needs met. Then we're able to set healthy boundaries or set infrastructure, set up our week in a way where our needs, and I don't mean like self-care in the sort of overused way. I mean, what keeps my restorative nervous system on? What keeps my Olympic flame lit? What keeps me connected to source and source energy in a way that gives me life and life to the full? And it's a very different approach than just, self-care, right? And so then we can line up all kinds of other things that need to be lined up as well from there. And that takes anywhere from 63 days, which is neuroscience, a new habit, to 6 months or a year if people really want to move into mastery.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I know that leaders, they often struggle with balancing being liked versus being valued or taken seriously, especially women. And you just spoke to that a little bit.
Yeah.
Give us some ways to create that balance. What should we be doing? What should we be thinking or implementing in our daily lives so that we can still be liked, but we still need to show that strength as a leader?
Yeah. And this is I'll say the crazy making push-pull of the drama triangle, right? I want to be liked. So I want to people please, and I've been taught to rescue and fix and take care of everybody else.
Right.
And at the same time, I'm being told in corporate that I need to have this little kind of, bully style thing going on where I need to be like tough and strong. I need to sound like this. I need to stand like that. I need to drive hard. I need to move at this pace. I need to do all these things. So it creates that, right? It just creates this, it's a crazy making cycle, right? It's such a push pull, and then we end up exhausted and feeling like victims, right? And so, this is going to sound simple, and I know it's absolutely not easy. It is true, though, that when we excavate into those 8 facets of your core and get you dialed into your I am stamp, you actually discover that you like yourself. And that is a big, big deal. One of the main things that people say to me, and I'm talking like executives, entrepreneurs of multi-million-dollar companies, I'm talking about people that you would never think would say this.
Right.
Professionals, tech executives in my Stanford class will say to me, because I don't teach undergrad, right? I'm with the continuing studies, the professionals from around the Bay Area. So people say to me, what if I don't like who I am?
Wow.
And it's like the biggest concern that people have. Not everyone voices it.
Right.
The other thing that people will say to me is, especially in the Stanford class, they'll like at the end of class, they'll pull me aside, like 10 weeks later, they'll pull me aside and say, it was so, colorful language, angry, the first night of class, because I came into class, this is a Stanford class. I came in here to have you tell me what my purpose is. Yeah, it's a purpose leadership class. You're supposed to tell me what I'm supposed to do. And I realized, I know, right? Tell me. Okay, well, victory begins within. All right. And so in your core zone. And so they were like, I realized the first night of class that she's not going to tell me. I have to figure it out myself. And I had to decide if I was going to stay in class or if I was going to drop it. Like, you know what I mean? And we are talking like, you know, professionals in organizations here in Silicon Valley that you would recognize, right? So these questions, you know, I'm good natured because I love the people, right? But you can feel the visceral, like, oof, of those responses to me, right? And so when you're asking me, Stephanie, how do people deal with being liked and still being powerful? You know, truly the excavation of who you are brings a level of acceptance, self-acceptance, that means you actually like yourself in addition to loving yourself, right? Like, oh, I like who I am.
Yeah.
And from that, I don't know a more powerful place than that, right? Like, right. That is, it like takes the energy back from everybody else. Right. And it go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that like versus love, like when you can make that connection in your mind, like I'd much rather for someone to come up to me and like, I really like you. Like, you know, that to me, that's just a difference. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that stood out to me because once you as a, you know, yourself start to discover that, then that's when the magic happens. That's when you get your power.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. I love that. So we, again, we all have different leadership styles. Talk to us about how leading using an inauthentic style can impact our teams and even us.
Yeah, I have a client, well, I have many clients who do this, who are in the people pleaser zone, on the drama triangle, right? And so it's viewed as politically correct, right? Nice is viewed as politically correct,
right.
And even like playing politics is kind of in that arena as well, right? It's in that sort of passive aggressive. Not that anyone, well, not most people are not intending that. Some people actually are deliberate. And they've admitted that in front of the room in my Stanford class, and so that's a good place to start. Anyway, I actually love that. That's a great place to start. So,
you know the true person.
Well, yeah, and you have to admit that, right? If you're gonna like get off the bully or the deliberate passive aggressive and get into your core zone, I mean, that's amazing. That's incredible. Responsibility and humility, right? Mm-hmm. So, so most women are either avoiding things that they don't want to deal with. So I can think of one client who was ignoring the fact that her manufacturing company, the licensing, the company she was licensing with to manufacture her product, they were not honoring the contract. And so they were charging her for things that they were supposed to be paying for according to the contract, and she was paying them because she didn't want to deal with it. Oh, no. And she's a multi-million-dollar, like, entrepreneur. So, and I actually have permission to tell like the generic part of this, right? I have permission to do this. So, and they were also not covering certain expenses, just like leaks of, and they had demand constraints. And so they weren't producing the product for her according to the demand that she had. So she was late on all of her orders, which, as we know, causes lost orders, lost revenue. Right. So she was leaking profit everywhere and also jammed up in terms of not being able to get revenue in. And so she started working with me. And the first thing that I had to help her deal with was the fear of letting go of that resource, right? Mm-hmm. The fear of what if I don't have somebody else, how am I going to make this work? I need a manufacturing company, right? So I started with the things she was attached to, the things she was most afraid of. And once we moved to a place, I mean, we did core zone first, of course, right?
Yeah.
And then we moved in, you know, specifically for the question you're asking me, in terms of implementing from her authentic core zone, I had to figure out, what is she attached to? What is she really afraid of? Okay, let's work on that and the mindset around that. What's actually really true, right?
Right.
And shifting the mindset to that, even if it's just an act of the will right now, you don't really believe it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, like, faith it till you make it, right? I don't mean there's no faking, people.
Yeah.
Right. But just choose, you know, rely on other stories, other testimonials, other evidence, so you can choose to believe that for long enough to pick up the phone and say, you know, in your own core voice, in her own femininity, to make the request that they reimburse what they shouldn't have charged her, that they pay what they need to charge her, and what were they going to do about the backlog, right?
Right. And
so she did that, and then because her intuition, her feminine intuition is strong, what happened was what she was quote unquote afraid of. Okay. And so I'm making multiple points here, right? Like, in her gut, she knew she was going to lose the client, or lose lose the supplier, right?
Right.
And so we had to have her face that potential, recognize that she knew that in her gut, to learn to trust herself more. And then what mindset did she need to change to take some action? And then, because we'd already equalized her to her core zone, she knew what words to say, what tone to use, how to be authentic in that. And the power, like from a Pilates standpoint, this is the powerhouse of your core, and all of your movement initiates from your torso, from your deep core muscles, right? And the same thing is true from your soul core and your heart core. And then when you line up your mindset core, right, and your actions, then it's just, you can lift anything, you can do anything.
Right.
And not necessarily things that you shouldn't be doing, that aren't assigned to you, but these hard things that are actually assigned to you to do. Right. And so as soon as she took that action, she lost the provider, the manufacturing provider. And then as soon as the space opened up, somebody came in out of the blue. Somebody called her and said, hey, we, saw you on HSN and we want to, work with you. And she ended up with better terms, an Integrous company. And then she actually got into Michael's, right? A big box store as well. Right. And so these are the kind of examples that we have of people moving from these, I'm going to play politics. I'm going to avoid it. I'm going to, get upset and yell, or, call them up in demand, or right. Do something like that to, like, no, this is what needs to be done from the core zone.
So to me, it sounds like everyone works differently, and everyone needs to recognize how you can show up in order for you to show up and to have the most impact. Yes. And it sounds like you help people get to that. So, like, if I'm not an aggressive person, you're not going to tell me, in order to get this done, you need to start being more aggressive. You are just saying to people, figure out what strength and what works for you, and that's how you show up. So be authentic, be your true self, listen to your gut and understand what your intuition tells you and how it can work for you. And if you show up like that, then everything else will start to work out. Am I getting this?
You are getting this. It is a matter of each one of us being unique, and each of us coming from, that's what core zone really is, right? It's your core zone, and it ends up being a zone as well, right? But it's from your agency, authenticity, and authority as well. It's built in. And that's what people don't really know, Stephanie, right? That there's that power that's innately within us, even women. And so it's actually not about being aggressive or, because that's still on the drama triangle. And even men are not in their authenticity that way either, because aggressive is not a true power it's not true power. It's aggression. It's based on fear. It's not based on anything constructive.
Right.
And so a quick example to address this piece. Another client typically would be very sort of politically correct and careful and, have sort of an approach of honor that was not actually honor or not actually nice, right? And so her communication came through as very confusing. And so whether it was dealing with her contractors that she had on contract with her and keeping them on track, or whether it was working with a corporate client and addressing scope and scope creep, how that kind of happens, right? So, when I worked with her, I didn't tell her be more aggressive and, handle it this way and handle it that way. I just said, what's true for you, right? Like, what does the contract say? What's true for you? Say what you mean and mean what you say.
Yeah.
Right? Let your yes be yes and let your no be no. And let's figure out the wording for that. Let's figure out the way to do it. Let's figure out your tone, right? Your true heart attitude, and let that come through.
Yeah.
And then you can pretty much say anything because it's coming through with that intent, right? And so I had her implement around those things, and she ended up just being more direct, making clear requests, saying no in ways that actually meant no, right? And were an invitation to something else more constructive, right?
Yeah.
Or no this and yes to that, or just no, which is okay. And just a way to word those things and handle those things so that her contractor team ended up being more productive because it was clear what the expectations were. And then she wasn't spending all this time and so frustrated with what are these problems, right?
Right.
And then she got what's the word I want? Recompense, right? Recompense restored her for areas where there was scope creep with one major, actually two major corporate clients.
Wow.
So, right, like that's not about being aggressive. That's about being aligned.
Right. And being clear with what you're saying. Like you said, yes means yes, no means no. And that's so, I've had managers where yes means maybe, no means sometimes. and and you're right. But once you get a good leader, a good leader because they are very clear. And for people to be able to work with you, or folks like you, and then to get that understanding so they can clearly direct. And it's very, very powerful. It impacts, like as you said before, it impacts your bottom line. It not only impacts you, but it impacts your bottom line as well. We talked a little bit before we got started. We were chatting about how all of this impacts your health as well. So I always bring health up because, in the corporate America, it almost took me down. You know what I mean? The stress of corporate America is real if you allow it to be. So talk about how this impacts health if you're not leading from your core, and how leading from your core can actually help impact your health.
Well, I'll try to keep that first part of your question short because I think I've given other examples, right, about how we overthink, we're ruminating at night, we lose sleep. Our adrenals are on all the time, right? On the drama triangle, it's just very, very stressful, right? And we are very focused on that. So a lot of our time is spent on that and not on, taking good care of who we're designed to be.
Right.
Right. And so when there's, to your point about the bottom line, when there's a leak in the bottom line, there's usually a leak in my personal bottom line, right? Yeah. Or there's not enough in the top line, right?
Exactly.
So, though all of the things are tied together, whether it's, energy or earnings, our effectiveness, all those things, if one is leaking or burning out, all of them are.
Yeah.
And so, to your point about managers and leaders and really corporate culture really is drama triangle, right? It's a power control dynamic, which is incredibly unfortunate, right? Because nobody actually, well, very few people, most people in corporate don't like it. Some people are facilitating it. Different discussion. And so, and in even some ways in the marketplace as well, like wherever you are, serving, and sometimes in our families, right? These dynamics are present as well. So across the board, I think it's important to understand that dynamic is there, first of all, right? And that dynamic is not a dynamic that is what I just talked about a few minutes ago. It's not I say what you mean and mean what you say dynamic, right? And so you're not sure is this going to change? Is that not going to change? I thought it was clear. Maybe it wasn't clear. I was trying to work it out in this language, but you know what I mean? Like, what a nightmare of keeping all that stuff in your brain, right? And it affects your well-being. So understanding that that's what's going on to begin with, I think is really important. And then deciding, calibrating, equalizing into your core zone so you know who you are, you like yourself, and then you can decide, who am I? What are my convictions? What's my true genius? What does being in right relationship with self and others mean? What does it mean for me to embody my core zone and my femininity or authentic masculinity?
Right.
And from there, then you're going to need to make choices about what risks you want to take, right? Because you're going to be off the drama triangle, you're going to be out of that toxic dynamic, and you're going to be a disruptor because you're not following, the way that's expected, right? The status quo. At the same time, really setting up your life in a way that puts you first, not in a bully take way, right? But in a core zone way where the first part of your core zone, whole being intellect, okay, I know how I operate, I know how I think, I know how to trust myself. So I'm going to listen to myself first. Right. And from that data, now what action do I need to take? Right. So even just the way I'm talking about it, there's more peace. My restorative nervous system is calm. It's on right now, my fight or flight nervous system.
Right.
That in and of itself keeps me healthier. Right.
Yeah.
And then what's my Olympic flame? Okay. This thing I call the Olympic flame because it's not supposed to go out. Right. The Olympic flame travels around with 3 backup flames. Right. It's a sacred flame. So I won't get into what it is. And well, let me just quickly say that it's tied to your ego. And if we take good care of our ego, it won't drive us and won't burn us out either, right? And other people can't douse it or manipulate us.
Right.
So that's really important. Then by the time we get down to section 3, which is needs, I have people calendar out their big rocks. You've heard the jar with the sand and the big rocks and right? So you put the big, I'm not kidding. You put the big rocks in first, then the stones, then the laundry in last. Okay. Like the to-dos are like last, but the big rocks are the things that are tied to your whole being intellect, tied to the way your 7 intelligences operate. What are the things that my visual intelligence needs, or my intrapersonal intelligence needs, or my interpersonal intelligence? That whatever my top 2 at the top are, what are those big rocks that are actual life-giving fuel sources to me, and putting those into my calendar first, along with sleep and nutrition and hydration, the basics that need to be in there, right? And that is like, that totally upends people's weekly, daily calendar, right? In the needs section, we look at financial planning and that sort of thing as well, like money's in there too. But these big rock pieces, since I'm talking to Miss Stephanie here with the mind body business, this is really important, right? This is most relevant for your audience. And the outer ring of that in the victory method of number 3 of needs is mind your own business. And it's a permission slip, and it's a command, right? And it's not just your actual business, but the business of
business.
you.
Yeah.
Your business.
I got
Right?
it. I love that. That's why I'm like, I like that. Yeah.
Right. And that is mind, body, business, right?
Yes.
So we'll just tie that together for you, Stephanie, and your people.
Yeah,
So
I love that.
that's how we get back into health in environments that are toxic, that we have no control over.
Yeah, that's so fun. That's why I named it that, because I'm like, if you take care of your mind and your body, you can take care of your business. So I love what you just said. High fives for people listening. Yeah. Two more questions for you. So I always ask folks to leave us with a tip or something that we can implement very easily as we walk away from this conversation. But you're giving us 8 core truths. So they're like 8 huge tips. So I'm going to ask you to pull out one of those core truths as your tip for folks. Let us know what the 8 core truths are about. Pull out one and how someone can immediately implement one of those truths.
Okay, or you can tell me which one you're drawn to and I'll give you a tip.
I was drawn to number 2, but I might be telling myself.
Okay.
Tips.
Okay, let me make my way around the core octagon and I will tell you.
Yeah.
Okay, let me start with a lie and then I'll flip to the truth, right? Okay. So lie number 1, there's only one right answer. Okay, so everybody's running around trying to get the little bubble thing right on the SAT score, right?
Yeah. That's a lie.
Right. And the truth is, you can trust yourself to know the best decision for you at any given time. Right. And so an important tip there would be to start listening to your gut, listen to your intuition. And if it first starts out as fear, like in the client story I told before, it's okay. Take a look at it. Ask it, what are you telling me?
Yes.
What are you telling me?
Yes.
Right. And then from there, you'll gain the excavation, the data you need to go figure out a strategic plan and an action plan for that. Okay, good. I gave a tip on that one. Well, we're going to roll through this. Okay. Line number 2, here you go.
All right.
Once you determine your vision, the path is smooth.
Lie. Nope.
And those of us that are attached to higher power, we think, oh, well, I got clear direction from the head office. What's the problem?
Yeah, exactly.
What's happening right now? This should not be.
God told me. Oops.
What's happening?
I know.
Right? So the truth is, every obstacle, bump, detour, delay, or distraction, even if it's not from the head office, because it's usually not, is an opportunity that will propel you toward your vision if you embrace it. And like I just had a little word slip, it will actually repel you if you don't embrace it.
Your Freudian slip.
Like they both are legit.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So I think that the tip here, Stephanie, would be to ask yourself, what do I want? And also, what do I need? Like, what actually really drives me? And to stay so connected to that you look every obstacle in the face and say, how are you serving me in this higher desire, this higher power desire, or vision, or a goal or need that I have, right? And then let that be the leverage that you need. And I'll just say this, a lot of people don't know what they really want and don't have clear vision. And I think that's for lots of reasons, which we probably don't need to get into right now. But this power control dynamic is clearly a part of that in the world, right?
Right.
And so we're not really taught to well, what do I want? We're taught to go after what other people say I should want, right?
Yep.
External expectations, status quo, this degree, this path, whatever.
Yeah.
And so we don't know because we haven't been taught to excavate that. And then I've also discovered that we're afraid of the potential loss of not having that. Like, I don't want to feel that. Yep. So I'm not going to go there. Yep. And this is why cortisol, right? Your heart core needs to be engaged because you need courage.
Yeah.
You
Tons of
gotta
courage.
face that stuff. Huh?
I said tons of courage.
Tons of courage.
Yeah.
Okay, so the rest of these I'll go through quickly because I just gave 2 tips on that. Lie 3, it's selfish to take care of yourself.
Right.
It's not selfish to take care of, this is the truth. It's not selfish to take care of yourself. It's selfish to get involved in others' lives, the rescuer, right? And to people please and all that kind of thing, because those things are actually what are needy, right? It's respectful to take good care of you and mind your own business, right? That's where the self-respect is and the respect comes from, right? Not this needy stuff. You have needs and you can't function without them.
Right.
Number 4, you have to measure up. Lie, right? The truth is you measure up as you are enough.
I love
And what's perfection? There is no definition. Like if you asked anybody, you asked 10 people what perfection is, first of all, I don't think they'd be able to describe it.
Right.
And secondly, if they did, you'd have 10 different answers.
Yes, you're right.
You are the right answer.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Lie 5, you should be able to do it all yourself.
Mm.
Oh, where did you get that one?
I know, right?
So the truth is your uniqueness determines what you do and how you do it. It's acceptable to say no, ask for help, delegate, all those things that you're not wired for.
Yeah.
And as business owners and even as moms, right, to set up the business or even the family infrastructure in a way that it's, there are systems, policies, and procedures set up, an organizational structure, even in the home set up where everybody's contributing. And studies show that the women in particular, because men have a different set of data and research around this, but for women entrepreneurs who hire staff, who get an organizational structure set up within the first 6 months of launching, they have the most likelihood of hitting $1 million in revenue.
Wow.
So it's directly tied with ROI, right? To have team, to have systems, policies, people, procedures, infrastructure supporting us.
Yeah.
Even in home, being nice or good is key to success.
Lie.
Lie. The truth, speaking your truth with kindness and respect will unleash your success and others. And I gave you that example of that client who, when she started saying what she meant and was very clear and directive and making requests and clear scope and all that kind of thing, unleashed not only her peace of mind, her mental load, and her profits, but also unleashed the success of her contractor team and her corporate clients.
Yes. Yeah.
It's nice is not a virtue, kindness is.
I like that. Nice is not a virtue. Kindness is. Yes.
No.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yes. So I would actually say nice is equivalent with aggressive, like it's in the toxic zone.
Yeah.
That's my experience. So kindness is a virtue. Okay, lie 7, you are greedy or self-absorbed if you receive. Okay. And lie 7 is tied with mission, which is tied with, being in community and having an audience and making your money, right? So receiving revenue is part of that, right?
Right.
So by receiving truth, you are contributing to the natural flow of life, right? The even shalama, the right reciprocity of things, right? The circulation of things. And so you're contributing to the natural flow of things that way, flow of life, business, energy, economy. It honors God or higher power, others, and yourself.
Yeah.
To receive.
Yeah. And you can't give unless you receive, because you have to have something to give. So
You always have to receive first.
yes. Yeah.
Lie 8, you will be exposed as a fraud or a failure and judged, right? So here's the big shame one, exposed. Know that what you have, the truth, know that what you have to contribute to the world as a human being and in the various roles you hold, parent, business, citizen, etc., is of great significance, right? Your uniqueness, your presence, even just your very presence makes you enjoyable, valuable, and marketable.
Yeah.
And this one came about, Stephanie, because I watched, especially female entrepreneurs trading their value and worth, right? Trying to get their need met for value and worth in the marketplace. So let me sell out this to try to get something back. And it's like, no. We have just your existence matters and makes a difference. Just your presence.
Right.
Now, how are we going to go price and package things?
Mm.
Okay. And so that's the truth that overcomes lie 8. And that's how tiny bit of how I do that one. Okay. Here's the big one. Dun, da, da, da.
The bonus lie.
It's the big one. The secret, the lie is the secret to success is out there, right? It's in a masculine style. It's follow the guru. It's take care of it this way. Address it on the power control dynamics that way. Play the game, hustle, grind, whatever. The secret to success is out there. That's not true, right? That's not true. The truth is that you will like yourself when you get into, when you equalize into your core zone. Yeah. You will find your true power, right? And all your resourcefulness there. And for those of us that are attached to higher power, we have more access to that wisdom and resources and opportunities as well, right? So everything you need to be successful in your life and business has been given to you in your inner being, in your core zone.
Yeah, I like that. That's beautiful. And so you guys don't think that you have to, go back and take a ton of notes, because you can if you'd like. But Ginny is offering that at no cost to you. So if you're listening on Podbean, you go down, you'll actually see a link to the offer. So Ginny, thank you so much for doing that. Now I need to close with this. So I want to know, what is the switch that made you the woman that you are today? Is it
so? I know, right? Well, the bigger overarching switch is what I've been saying all along, off the drama triangle and into my core zone. Mm. And I did that the bumpy, hard, wild way, right? And then through working with so many clients, seeing that same pattern unfolding, I was like, we need to, like, this core zone intellectual property, this framework came together. It's, not only from my client experience, it's from my lived experience, right? I am not serving according to my greatest strengths, my greatest gifts, on mission in public accounting while I'm making a difference and I'm successful. That's not where I'm thriving. I didn't thrive in a corporate environment either, but as an entrepreneur, as challenging as it is.
Yeah.
And, contributing in a way that harnesses my natural strengths and I'm on mission is really, I can just do it in my sleep. It's such a joy. It's such a fulfillment. It's such an energizer. It keeps me healthy, right? As long as I keep healthy boundaries around me, it keeps me healthy, because this is the way I'm designed to operate, what I'm called to contribute to the world. And that's a healthy place to be. And then along the path, Stephanie, right, from, masculine styles to feminine styles. So what was interesting in public accounting is that, it's a, we're auditing financial statements, right? And so it's a very responsible, role to be in. And so while we did have to wear suits, I think because I was in such a structured environment and everything was so regulated, I was wearing peplums and, military buttons and colors and style and shape. So I would always show up, and my hair was long, and I would show up very feminine and very, good-natured and I don't know, like we are when we're feminine, right? Just having that sort of, whatever that is, that glow, right? That energy around us. Yeah. And in the process, I discovered that people whether it was the owner of the company, a construction company, manufacturing. I was auditing manufacturing companies, nickel plating, plastic extrusion, you know what I mean? Like I'm out in these warehouses, right? And And I think because of the role and the structure and the responsibility and the authority that we had in public accounting, I was free to do that. Right. And it taught me that my true power does lie within my natural, innate, design that way. And so then I've carried it through the rest of my career and my personal life. And I'm just thrilled to have women know that that's where their power is. And the few men that work with me too get dialed back into their true masculine powerhouse as well.
I love that. Ginny, this has been so beautiful. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. If people really listen, there was so many nuggets in there, things that we can take and implement on our own. And it feels like if we start to trust ourselves, start to trust our gut, we can step into that power that we already have. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
It's such an honor, Stephanie.
Thank you. Everyone, here's to your health.
I am so excited for you because you just finished another episode of The Switch, which means you are the fierce person I already knew you were. If you're ready to join an exclusive group of other fierce high performers like you, a group where you can bounce ideas off one another and ask questions, be sure to join our exclusive Facebook community. You can find the link below. Today's episode brought to you by Mind Body Balance. Looking to lose weight, have more energy, and gain more confidence? Well, Mind Body Balance is a 4-part protocol that can help you do just that. With Mind Body Balance, we peel back the layers down to the DNA to help you discover why the weight won't come off and how to keep it off for good. Mind Body Balance. Go to StephanieLynnShaw.com for more information.